There is more to what happened at Jackson Hole than just the speech by Jay Powell. In my talk last week, I said that our model of the Fed funds rate stood at 365 basis points. This is actually 70 basis points lower than the actual level of the Fed funds rate of 435 basis points. I also said that the Fed was successfully achieving a soft landing with employment growing at 1%. This was below the median level of employment growth since 2004 of 1.6%. Still, as I listened to Jay Powell speak, I noted a sense of concern in his voice when he said that, and I quote, the July employment report released earlier this month slowed to an average pace of only 35,000 average per month over the past 3 months, down from 168,000 per month during 2024. This slowdown is much larger than assessed just a month ago. My interpretation of this is that Jay Powell may be concerned that the soft landing achieved by the Fed may be turning and may be in danger of turning into a hard landing. This suggests a rate cut of 25 basis points at the Fed at their next meeting of 17-18 September. This would leave the Fed funds rate at 4.1%. This would mean that the Fed funds rate would still be 45 basis points higher than our model estimate of 3.65%. Hence, the Fed funds rate would remain moderately restrictive. Dire demography. Jackson Hole was actually a Fed strategy meeting with many speakers in addition to Jay Powell. Two speakers who followed on the afternoon after his speech were Claudia Golden, professor at Harvard, and Chad Janis of Stanford Graduate Business School. They each gave a foreboding presentations on the demography of the developed economies. Claudia Golden spoke to the subject of the downside of fertility. She noted that birth rates in the developed world were now generally below replacement level. The total fertility rate is below 2 in France, she said, and below 2 in the US and the UK. It is dangerously low, below 1.5 in Italy and Spain, and below 1 in Korea. She observes that the age of first marriages of couples in the US is now 7 years later than in the 1960s, and this reduces the couple's childbearing years. This paper was then followed by a discussion of it by Chad Janis of Stanford Graduate Business School. He noted that there is a profound difference between a future with a replacement rate of 2.2 kids per family, which he called the expanding cosmos, which had a growing population leading to a growing number of researchers, leading to rising living standards and exponential growth both in living standards and population. And a big difference between that and a replacement level of 1.9 kids per family, which leads to, wait for it, negative population growth, which he called an empty planet, and the end of humanity as numbers of researchers decline and economic growth ceases. Of course, this seems very serious indeed. Perhaps what this really means is that if we want to save the world, we should just relax and start having a lot more fun.